down a little bit.
Yes, it's sort of, that's where their weight centers, just in their belly.
So that's when your adrenals are a little off, is when you carry the weight there.
So a spare tire, you may be thin, but you have a little bit of a spare tire.
What would you do about that kind of weight? How would you get rid of it?
You have to cut out the foods that are stimulating, overstimulating your adrenals, which is the salt and the red meats and the fried foods.
Well, that's interesting. I want to stay focused on what I did, because mine, to me, is a very curious case. I lost all my weight, and I don't have any trouble maintaining it now. I still don't have the moons on my fingers. What does that mean? I mean, I have one finger that has a moon on it.
Not to be overly concerned, but just to be aware that if you eat a lot of sweets, that it's going to affect you, and quickly you have high tendencies toward hypoglycemia.
Oh yeah, and certainly fruits in the middle of the day just wreck me. I can feel it.
Yeah, and I would really, recommend concentrating on a large breakfast with eggs or some kind of protein in the morning, and a medium to light lunch and a light dinner, and to eat the protein, because that's really necessary for your thyroid just to stabilize it.
Okay.
The red meats.
And move away from the vegetarian diet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a warning sign when your moons are gone, just to be aware.
And the warning is that your thyroid's in a little bit of trouble.
That's right.
Now, what about exaggerated moons? What about
exaggerated moons? That no particular sign.
The bigger, the better, then.
That's
Okay, that's curious.
It's funny in this day and age that when we were younger, we went to the dentist so often, like every 6 months. At least I did, and I was X-rayed every 6 months. My teeth were X-rayed without any protection for my thyroid, and I think that it's fairly common, to have children go to the dentist very often and to have their teeth radiographed, which is that's not a very good practice. Luckily, they are shielding today. The dentist I went to recently was, and
the only shields I've ever got have just sort of been chest shields.
That's mine too. I don't think anything has ever been done about shielding the thyroid. I had never thought of that.
Well, if you go to your dentist, it's a good idea to ask, could you shield my thyroid as well? Especially for the children who are having checkups so quickly, so regularly.
That's very interesting.
Their moons will disappear off their fingernails.
Yeah, really.
That's right.
Well, what kind of information is most sort of general and beneficial if you're not real sure what kind of body type you are, or if somebody wanted to pursue this more, what could they do?
Yeah, it's right now I think it's really exciting, because as well as being able to handle your weight, you can also handle maybe a little bit of your personality problems, like just say a thyroid who just feels that they just have an inability to concentrate and feel like their life is moving too quickly, should really look for some help and get on a thyroid diet and increase their red meat so they can ground themselves a little more.
So, yeah, and I think that one of the things they could do if they're not really clear about what to do is that they could, get a Bravanel's book, or if they still have questions, they could come and talk to you or me at Phoenix, or they could find somebody else who is knowledgeable in body types.
I'd like to have the number of Phoenix run so that
that would be great.
So that people could call you if they wanted to pursue this, because I work with a lot of people who have weight problems, and some people seem to be able to go on a classic diet and cut calories and lose weight, and other people seem to do the exact same thing and don't have any success at all. And I believe truly it's related to their body type, and if they would just change, like get off the dairy products and move.
Just a little bit of fine-tuning,
right.
I think. Now, one of the things that Marty and I talk a lot is, kind of eating with the seasons, and this still would apply, if you're on this.
It's certainly good.
If you're on a body type diet, I think that you need to be innovative and creative with it, and eat your vegetables that are appropriate.
Very healthy, One other thing I wanted to add is that there also has been some clinical findings that gonadal type person, especially a woman who has not been able to become pregnant, will often find that going on the gonadal diet will take off the stress on her ovaries, cutting out the spices and the heavy creams. And it has been found, I've had 2 patients who've become pregnant after being on this diet for about a month, and they've been trying for a year or so. So it's really quite incredible. And Dr. Bandy has had similar experiences with that.
So that's
So you
interesting.
can really, so that's one way you can really tell that
Physical changes.
that you're getting a recovery.
Yeah, you have a
Personality changes and physical changes.
Yeah. But you have a woman you've been working with who was a gonadal type who, I think from what you said, just struggled for years to get pregnant. So.
Yeah.
It's interesting too, I've found that when I talk with people and ask about their wanting to handle their weight gain, and they can be a thyroid type, but they can be really kind of larger at the bottom, at the top. I'll say, well, do you like spicy foods? Oh, I just love spicy foods. You say, well, cut back on them a little bit.
Yes. Get rid of that gonadal weight gain. Cut out the spicy foods. Exactly.
Or have the spicy foods for your treat, and just, you know, have it once every week or so instead of
every meal.
Yeah.
That's right. And really to be aware how often you consume those.
So it's good, I guess if you're kind of a balanced type, all of the foods are considered that we're talking about are really high stress foods. Nobody needs to overdo milk. Nobody needs to overdo the salts or the greases or the fried foods. And they don't need to be doing lots of caffeine and sugar.
Right.
And they don't need to be doing lots of spicy foods or overly spicy. You just need to have lots of variety.
Lots of variety.
So I guess if you don't know what you are, then just be a little bit of...
And also you can come to Phoenix Healing and Learning Center and talk to Hilda or myself there and find out what body type you're on and get on a body type diet.
And watch the results.
It's truly wonderful and very beneficial. And if you want to learn more about it, probably, I'm sure Dr. Bandy will be back in town this fall, and he'll be giving seminars on the body type diets. And there will be weekly classes started by my partner, Dr. Borden Smith, probably late July. And if you call Phoenix, you can find out about that as well.
Oh, that's exciting. I didn't realize that was something he was going to offer. So.
So that's great. So there really are classes and seminars and people you can come talk to, and you can find out exactly what type you are and whether you've got gonadal weight gain or adrenal weight gain or whatever it is. That's interesting.
How did you get into this, Holly?
I started to attend Dr. Bandy's seminars and applied kinesiology, which was fascinating. And I guess his third seminar I went to, he talked about the bi-type diets, and that was 2 years ago. And
it made sense to you.
And I went on my bi-type diet and just found an incredible increase in energy in the next 2 weeks that followed.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. It really.
So you were able to see a difference that quickly, just within 2 weeks?
I was fairly healthy, so and just cutting out the diet or the foods that were stressing me out, which were eating raisins and dried fruits. That was just too sweet for me. And when I cut those out, I find an incredible difference in my energy and more of a stability.
Now, would you ever eat a peach?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I eat peaches, and when I want to lose weight, I'll get on my thyroid diet. Is what I'll do, and I'll cut out this, most of the fruits then. But it's always well to go back to the variety of foods because.
So in the summertime, when the fruits are so abundant, you're not sitting around eating a hamburger.
But I don't eat fruits for a meal because that's just instant sugar and stimulus for my thyroid, and that would may last half an hour to 45 minutes for energy for my day.
And yet my husband could get along quite well on that.
Definitely, an adrenal type would flourish on. It's wonderful.
Yeah, well, I realize as we're talking how difficult it is to make those changes because I really have very strong cravings for fresh fruit. I just love them. And this time of year, so I have a house full of fruit, and there are 2 thyroids living in this house.
That's right.
So,
as long as you don't eat them as your meal.
Right. But I know, but when you give up raisins, I was like, I mean, I've cut out the chocolate and I've cut out some of the sweets, and I'm down to the good sweets, and it's like, I can't take those away. So I know what the people who are having to give up their Mexican and their their spicy food. It's like, oh no, not that, anything but that.
The milks and the ice cream for the two.
Yeah, just I'll give up anything but this. So, but that's the very thing that's stressing me and making it worse.
If you want to lose weight and just stabilize yourself, that's what you have to give up. And once you're on once you feel like you've lost the weight you want to lose, then you just have to be aware of those are the foods that you want to, just have as treats, now and then.
Wow. Gosh. I don't know if I can give up my raisins. I'll have to try.
So you're cut down on your peaches and your watermelon.
Really, I know. Oh, strawberries still.
It's strawberry season.
Yeah. Well, so how long, you've been doing this for 2 years? That's,
Yes.
is there a lot of new information coming out? Is Bandy doing a lot of research? And
What's happening is just more clinical knowledge is being found as we work with people who have the gonadal diets, and finding that once they go on the gonadal diet, they've been able to take the stress off their ovaries and become pregnant, things like that. Or and so the clinical evidence is coming in. It's just rolling in, and I think it's becoming much more popular, much more well known.
I was going to say, because I hadn't really heard of this, and I'm sure a lot of people are not familiar with this at all.
And I hope that it does become more popular, because to think that just one diet is suitable for every person, just so
Well, that's so clear when I work with people who have weight problems, that some people respond very well to the vegetarian diet.
Some people work better on a high-protein diet.
A high-protein diet, and you can't just say, here, take this, and
respond to different
really,
ways.
yeah.
And I think the thing that we're working towards, too, I think that lots of us are combinations of different body types, and we're all working towards getting to be kind of balanced. And that's one of the things that with this diet, after a while, you do tend to...
You do achieve a balance.
Yes.
That's exactly right. And then once you do achieve a balance, you can add those foods in gradually that were stresses to you before.
So you can put them back in.
Oh, yes.
Once you get straightened out.
The diet is essentially a shortcut into getting optimum health, and as you get healthier, then instead of you having a couple of glands that are strong and a couple of them that are really weak, you have all 4 of them. You're kind of working on 4 cylinders or...
Instead of 2, yeah.
That's right. And in the meantime, you lose the weight you've been trying to lose because the stress has been taken off your major gland, and you are able to have a larger energy crease and just stabilize yourself.
Yeah. Well, I started thinking of the fast food places are really in response to people's cravings, aren't they?
Well, they certainly are.
Yeah. So you could almost say, well, we'll go to the Mexican fast food place and meet the gonadal types. Go to the hamburger place and meet
the owners of the restaurant, the adrenal types at the hamburger place.
Probably.
They eat their own food. They crave their own food.
Yeah. It would be better for one of them than to have their very own hamburger place. They can have all the French fries they want.
I would have donut stores.
Right.
And us pituitaries have the ice cream parlors, which I would think would be the luckiest of all. Well, Dr. McFarland, it has been a pleasure to have you with Marty and me today.
Yes.
I've really enjoyed it.
Well, I really think that I hope some people have heard some things that they haven't heard before, and that they'll give you a call, because I know weight struggle is such a problem for so many people, and you're offering a little bit different idea and something that apparently works. I mean, you've had success with it, and we've had a little success with it. So
it's exciting because it's not just the weight loss that they're gaining.
Right.
So you lose your weight and gain your health.
Yeah.
So, well, we appreciate your joining us for this show, and we want you to stay tuned. We're having other exciting guests, and then sometimes we'll just have Marty and me, which is equally nice. So we appreciate Smyrna Cable bringing us to you. Goodbye.